Chapter 3.3 Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, born 8th January 1942. He is an English theoretical physicist, cosmologist, author and director of research at the Centre of Theoretical Cosmology within the Cambridge University. Cosmology means the science of the origin and development of the universe. Hawking was the first to set out a theory of cosmology explained by a union of the general theory of relativity and quantum machines. Theory of relativity? It states that force of gravity arises from curvature of space of times. Quantum machine. A quantum machine is a human-made device whose collective motion follows the laws of quantum mechanics. Hawking is an honorary fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, FRSA, a lifetime member of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, and a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the US. This lesson gives us an insight about the great scientist, his life, and his works. Honorary fellow means an academic researcher. Stephen Hawking, born January 8, 1942, is a British scientist, professor and author who has done groundbreaking work in physics and cosmology and whose books have helped to make science accessible to everyone. Groundbreaking means innovative or advanced. Cosmology is the science of the origin and development of the universe. At the age of 21, while studying cosmology at the University of Cambridge, he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is a neurological disease that weakens muscles. Part of his life story was depicted in the 2014 film, The Theory of Everything. Depicted means represented. Over the years, Stephen Hawking has written or co-written a total of 15 books. A few of the most noteworthy include: in 1988, Hawking catapulted to international prominence with the publication of A Brief History of Time. Catapulted means launched. Prominence means celebrity. The short, informative book became an account of cosmology for the masses and offered an overview of space and time, the existence of God, and the future. The work was an instant success, spending more than 4 years atop the London Sunday Times bestseller list. Atop means on the top. Since its publication, it has sold millions of copies worldwide and been translated into more than 40 languages. A Brief History of Time also wasn't as easy to understand as some had hoped. So, in 2001, Hawking followed up his book with The Universe in a Nutshell, which offered a more illustrated guide to cosmology's big theories. Illustrated guide means explained with pictures and graphical material. In 2005, Hawking authored the even more accessible A Briefer History of Time, which further simplified the original work's core concepts and touched upon the newest developments in the field like string theory. Core means central or basic. Together, these 3 books, along with Hawking's own research and papers, articulate the physicist's personal search for science's holy grail, a single unifying theory that can combine cosmology, the study of the big, with quantum mechanics, the study of the small, to explain how the universe began. Articulate means to express fluently. Holy Grail here means a thing which is eagerly pursued or sought after. It's the kind of ambitious thinking that has allowed Hawking, who claims he can think in 11 dimensions, to lay out some big possibilities for humankind. Ambitious means having strong desire to succeed. Dimensions means aspect, feature, or a fact. He's convinced that time travel is possible and that humans may indeed colonize other planets in the future. Colonize means to settle. In September 2010, Hawking spoke against the idea that God could have created the universe in his book, The Grand Design. Hawking previously argued that belief in a creator could be compatible with modern scientific theories. Compatible means being similar to. His new work, however, concluded that the Big Bang was the inevitable consequence of the laws of physics and nothing more. Inevitable means unavoidable. Consequence means a result of an action. Because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. Hawking said, "Spontaneous creation is the reason there is something rather than nothing, why the universe exists, why we exist." The Grand Design was Hawking's first major publication in almost a decade. Within his new work, Hawking set out to challenge Sir Isaac Newton's belief that the universe had to have been designed by God simply because it could not have been born from chaos. Chaos means confusion. It is not necessary to invoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going. Hawking said, "Invoke means authority of some action." At the age of 21, Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. In a very simple sense, the nerves that controlled his muscles were shutting down. At the time, doctors gave him 2.5 years to live. Hawking first began to notice problems with his physical health while he was at Oxford. On occasion, he would trip and fall or slur his speech. He didn't look into the problem until 1963, during his first year at Cambridge. Slur means words are not clear while speaking. For the most part, Hawking had kept these symptoms to himself. But when his father took notice of the condition, he took Hawking to see a doctor. For the next 2 weeks, the 21-year-old college student made his home at a medical clinic where he underwent a series of tests. They took a muscle sample from my arm, stuck electrodes into me, and injected some radio-opaque fluid into my spine and watched it going up and down with X-rays as they tilted the bed, he once said. After all that, they didn't tell me what I had, except that it was not multiple sclerosis, and that I was an atypical case. Multiple sclerosis means abnormal hardening of body tissue. Atypical means very unusual. Eventually, however, doctors did diagnose Hawking with the early stages of ALS. It was devastating news for him and his family. But a few events prevented him from becoming completely despondent. Diagnose means detection of a medical condition. Devastating means causing a severe shock. Despondent means discouraged. The first of these came while Hawking was still in the hospital. There, he shared a room with a boy suffering from leukemia. Leukemia is a malignant progressive disease in which the bone marrow and the other blood-forming organs produce increased number of abnormal white blood cells. Relative to what his roommate was going through, Hawking later reflected, his situation seemed more tolerable. Not long after he was released from the hospital, Hawking had a dream that he was going to be executed. He said this dream made him realize that there were still things to do with his life. In a sense, Hawking's disease helped him become the noted scientist he is today. Before the diagnosis, Hawking hadn't always focused on his studies. Before my condition was diagnosed, I had been very bored with life, he said. There had not seemed to be anything worth doing. With a sudden realization that he might not even live long enough to earn his PhD, Hawking poured himself into his work and research.